this meeting the Clay County Commission to order. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Nolte,
Here.
Commissioner Withington, Commissioner Lawson, Commissioner Wagner, Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Carpenter.
With that, we will move to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Commissioner Johnson?
Move to approve today's agenda.
Motion's been made for the approval of today's agenda. Discussion, seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson.
Yes.
Commissioner Nolte,
Yes.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
That brings us to our one and only agenda item that is under discussion, proposed 2026 road and bridge and 5-year SIP funds, and that would be Mr. Administrator, so please proceed.
Yes. Good afternoon. As mentioned, Commissioner Nolte, this is our final budget presentation. This one here is Road and Bridge, as well as our 5-year CIP budget. We have Road and Bridge President, Director Todd Degenhart. We also have Victor, County Auditor, as well as Facilities and Parks Department as well represented, and Planning and Zoning. That's it. If there's any questions, we have staff here. We'll go through the initial presentation will be led by myself. Then after that, Tom will come and do the next portion regarding Road and Bridge, and then we'll finalize with the overview for the 5-year CIP. All right. First here is our Road and Bridge funds. Just what I just mentioned, Road and Bridge, your use tax, budget highlights, and then the 5-year CIP. Goes back to our focus areas for strategic plan, safety and well-being, along with financially sustainable economic opportunity, infrastructure, and employer choice. All focus areas were utilized to help develop the budget, including the 5-year CIP. Road and Bridge is one of the departments that answer directly to myself as a county administrator. It's also one that takes care of not only our snow, our roadways, our bridges, our culverts, and other items within the network of the county. Also, it has fleet management as well. Budget itself is about a 2% change from last year. Your Road and Bridge Fund is about $20 million. Operating wise is just under 16.1, over 16.1. And expenditure reserves is about 3.8 items that were rolled over from before. So totals overview fund of that of $20 million. To break down those revenues, you got 28% in your reserves, 25% in your property taxes, bridge and grant reimbursement amounts of 27%, general sales tax allocation of 12%, and then the state vehicle fuel tax. So to put numbers to that, outside the percentages, you're talking $2 million for the general sales tax, $5 million for your property taxes, 1.3 from your state and fuel taxes. The other one is your bridge and grant reimbursements, about 5.4, 116,000 in miscellaneous, and then your reserves of just under 5.6 million. Expenditures, contractual, capital, commodities, and personnel. You can see a majority of those are either contractual or capital as for the outlay regarding your expenditures regarding that one. Your personnel comparison, about 19%, just over 3 million. But your contractual items along with commodities, and then capital is probably your major one, which is 5.89 million. These are expenditures that go out as far as the overall Road and Bridge Fund. This pie chart kind of breaks it down more by division. The one I'd like to highlight there is the bridge projects, about 36% of your road and bridge fund. Your next one is your special road projects, and road and maintenance or other operation-wise there, but those two special road projects and your bridge projects take over 70% of your funds. Take note that Commissioner Wagner is present. So you all are very familiar with the road district settlement agreement and your funding regarding it, but I wanted to highlight that. So here is your estimated amount to be expenditure-wise, about $4.8 million for 2025. That would increase to 5.3, but revenue-wise, you're at 4.5. So about 800,000 that you need to continue to satisfy that settlement amount. And those amounts, as you can see, are coming out of your general fund. This one here is given the different municipalities that receive it in road districts. For the most part, is your sales tax shows you where it's going regarding that. The other items is how it's broken down by cities. Gladstone, Claycomo, Liberty, a larger portion going to Kansas City of about 1.5 million, and then some of your smaller municipalities that receive road district funds, totaling that 5.3 million that was there before. The general sales tax that would utilize about 940,000 to make up for the shortfall regarding the revenues that we collect with the property tax.
I'm sorry, did you say 948,000?
940,000.
940, thank you.
Road and Bridge Use Tax Fund. The fund itself has continued to grow. Our use tax has been doing well and continue to progress. Here, we're proposing to have an increase change of about 3.89% this upcoming year, both between your operating and your expenditure reserves. So the revenue resources, the reserves, and then the use tax is 63% of that one. Expenditure-wise, the majority of it is going on commodities, and the 13% of that will go towards contractual. So this one is pretty straightforward on the two items where it's all spent. So combined, between both funds combined, you're talking about 28 million. Combined expenditures about 22.8. So personnel is about 3 million. Your capital, commodities are items that we purchase, and then contractual breaks down how much we're spending between both items, along with the general use tax that helps make up that shortfall regarding those two items. Your next one would be your forecasting. This one here goes back to the trend analysis that breaks it down more as far as where those items are. The BRO program is our major grant program that we have for our bridge projects. Your other items you have operating revenue-wise is your grants, and this one just gives a better idea of where we are as far as where we spend trend analysis-wise. Looks like in the past we've been pretty close to staying on top. The one I want to point out is that net operating revenue and expenditures. It is a negative, but then when you look at your trend, you spend about 1.4, which ending fund balance is about 7 million. So you still cover that, and that's capital-wise. Those projects are typically 1 year, one operating budget, not something that's a continual cost, but the item that is a continual cost is your your road and bridge districts along with your personnel. So there are, and some commodities that you need from everything from fuel, which is probably a major portion of that commodity side, to also items you need as far as your maintenance and items, fleet management wise. This one here is a chart you've seen on the other ones. Some of the work on was brought to our attention regarding the fund balance and the difference there. That shows the difference there. So keeping that in mind, you will see that projected amount looks quite a bit higher, but that also includes fund balance. So. And this is your use tax fund. This here shows the net revenue wise, but projected ending of about 2.1 million or 800,000. Both of your projected endings in this one are positive in your balances. So as far as expenditures, most of it has to go to your commodities, and it shows how that's being paid for. This one gives you an example of how it is trending wise. You see that estimated actual end of this year, it's just under where we were last year, about 7 million, just at 7 million. But trend wise, it's showing to go down over time, expenditure wise. Go with now, we'll have a Road and Bridge Director will come and give highlights, and then I'll come back from there to finish up.
Good afternoon, Tom Dagenhart, Road and Bridge Director. Hold on. I'm gonna need this. Our 2025 accomplishments for economic opportunity included establishing a utility permitting fee and process for private underground utilities in the public right-of-way or adjacent to in an easement, utility easement. Previously, we only required crossroad permits for utilities, and most of these utilities are underground and use directional boring outside the roadway pavement. We do not allow open cutting of our roadway. We do require a performance bond, and the fee proposed will cover staff inspection time. For our 2025 infrastructure goal, we asphalt overlaid, chip sealed, and microsurface 14.8% of our paved system, which is 113.3 lane miles or 56.6 centerline miles. We completed the Nation Road Bridge replacement, and we have 2 bridges currently under design funded by the MoDOT BRO program, with the plans almost complete and ready to bid. We completed deck repairs on the Northeast 140th Street Bridge, just east of Jesse James Farm Road, and we replaced 18 crossroad culverts with in-house road and bridge crews. During 2025, we filled 10 vacancies, and we had 2 employees retire. One of these employees was a long-term employee with 40 years of service. And I think his actual retirement was when he hit his exact day 40, his 40th year, so kudos to him. Including myself, excuse me, should switch slides. Including myself, there are 31 employees in the Road and Bridge Department, and we currently have 5 vacancies. Our 2026 goals includes providing at least 4 safety training courses for our operators and for safety and well-being. For financial stability, we are asking in this year's budget funding for a pavement evaluation software. I will cover this more in detail on one of the slides in the presentation. For infrastructure, we intend asphalting, chip sealing, and microsealing 13% of our paved system, which is 98.7 lane miles, or 49.4 centerline miles. We also intend converting 10 centerline miles from chip seal paving to asphalt. I'll talk about the bridges on this slide later in the presentation, get more detail. Another important infrastructure goal is to make sure all of our crossroad culverts have proper signage in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, or MUTCD, which is a national standard across the United States. Most of our horizontal roadway curves have advisory speed, which is lower than posted speed limit for safety, and not all of those speed limits, I'm confident, are accurate, so we plan on checking those and getting a program to get those corrected. For employer of choice, excuse me, we continue our efforts to fill at least 3 new equipment operators and allow promotional opportunities for at least 3 current operators. So this slide is a summary of our 2028 use tax budget request related to our roads and culverts. I will go into more detail on each one of these items. This is just a general slide of our inventory. We currently maintain about 383 centerline miles of road. About 49% of our roadway system is asphalt, and 43% chip sealed, and then concrete and gravel make up the remaining. In previous years, the mileage had been reported as lane miles, but the standard for reporting is now typically centerline miles. So going forward, when I say miles, I'll be talking about centerline miles. In 2025, we added 1.4 miles of new roads through the development process. This year, we will also convert 11.5 miles of chip seal streets to asphalt and about 1.6 miles of gravel to chip seal. We also maintain our gravel roads with in-house crews at a cost of about $2,500 per mile. Okay, I just went backwards there. Sorry about that. So this is a summary of our proposed 2026 street preservation program, including centerline miles and the cost per mile for each item. We will overlay, when we overlay an existing asphalt road, we typically use 2 inches of asphalt and do some base repairs as needed. The 2025 cost for a 2-inch overlay was about $131,000 per mile. When we convert a chip seal street to asphalt, we typically use 3 inches of asphalt and do some base repairs. The 2025 cost for 3 inches of asphalt was about $197,000 per mile. The cost for a 2-inch mill is about $31,000 per mile, and we only use that in subdivisions that have curbing so we can match the existing curb line to maintain proper drainage. Microsurfacing cost for 2025 was about $52,000 per mile, and chip seal was about $46,000 per mile. Asphalt, microsurface, and chip seal are all done by contract. In addition, we will reclaim chip seal roads in-house. Our internal cost we track is about $20,000 per mile, which includes staff time, equipment, and material cost. Yes, ma'am.
How many, are you saying 30 miles of gravel we still have in the county?
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
And
do we have plans to, I couldn't tell whether you meant that money was for maintaining the gravel roads as they are?
Yes.
Or are you looking at trying to upgrade those to chip seal or whatever?
that money is for maintaining. It's where we go in there and reblade them and put additional gravel down. Some gravel roads in the county are not conducive to either chip seal or asphalt. They're in the lower areas that tend to flooding, so we'll probably never convert those to gravel. But we do have a plan to convert some of them, but not all of them, from gravel to either chip seal or asphalt.
About how many miles converted?
Well, right now we have an existing 30 miles, and we did 1.5 last year, 1.6. So I don't think this year we have any that we're doing, but it's something I'm going to look at in the future.
Okay.
So this is our 2026 asphalt overlay. We're asking for $2,420,000. This table represents those roads that will receive asphalt overlay. The roads shown without highlights are, in this year's plan, are part of the initial 5-year plan that's been published out there for a while. The add-ons are in green. Most of the add-ons were in the Green Hills subdivision, which had the original asphalt from 1994. These roads were moved forward from microsurface in 2028, which is not an appropriate treatment for this kind of an old road. And I was able to, the reason we had additional funding to add these roads is our database was assuming a 24-foot wide pavement when we were doing our cost estimates. And if you go out there, and a lot of these roads are actually 22 or 2021, so that kind of added additional, we had kind of a buffer in there, so this added the additional fund to add those roads in there. Another one of the streets was Northeast 134th Street, which is a collector road in Johnson Ridge subdivision off Northeastern. The other roads in the subdivision are in fair condition and will be microsurfaced this year, and this road is kind of the collector that goes to the subdivision that is in bad shape, so we're going to do some base repair and mill and overlay that. And as part of that, I know in previous presentations, we talked about ADA compliance. There's sidewalks in the subdivision with, there's at least 2 ramps that we'll need to check for ADA compliance and possibly an upgrade. Please note also in this column, there's a markings column that includes roads that will receive pavement markings. And I'll talk about pavement markings later in the presentation. Another add-on was the Northeast 160th Street, which is a small section between Cordell. That's kind of an offset with Cordell's to the south and north. And it was scheduled for asphalt 2027, although Cordell was asphalt 2026, so it made sense to move that forward. This is our list. The next 3 pages is our list for microsurface, which is $1,331,000. Again, the ones that are not highlighted are the ones that had been planned for quite some time as part of our 5-year program. And we use microsurfacing to extend the life of asphalt surfaces in some chip seal streets. Generally adds about 7 years of service life to those roads. So just more microsurface streets planned. And then the last page are the add-ons and subtractions. Again, the ones in green are add-ons to this year's program. There were 4 of the 5 moved forward for microsurface 2028, so we freed up some funds, able to move them forward. These are all adjacent to Nebo Hills Road, which is part of the 5-year program. So we're going to be going down Nebo Hills. These were kind of cul-de-sacs off there, so it made sense to do it while we're there at the same time. So we moved those forward. Part of Northeast 128th Street from Missouri Highway 33 to Moffett Road was done in 2024 as part of the Corona Response and Relief Supplement Appropriations Act of 2021. Those funds ran short, so this section did not get done. So we plan on finishing that this year. The roads highlighted in yellow were removed from this year's program and either changed the type of treatment or for this year or moved to a different year. So some of these streets I say were meant for microsurface, but they were in bad shape, so we ended up converting them to, or putting them into the chip seal list. So this is the chip seal list 2026. We're asking for $800,000. Again, the ones in white are not unhighlighted or programmed. All these roads will be reclaimed with in-house crews. And just as a refresher, reclaiming involves a special piece of equipment that removes about 6 inches of existing surface, grinds up the material, adds new gravel to that, and puts it back into place. A motor grader comes through and smooths it out, followed by heavy rollers to compact it in place. And then we come back in with the chip seal process by contract. Yeah, it's noteworthy, and I know a lot of people in the county don't like chip seal streets, they want asphalt, but a chip seal street is about $65,000 per centerline mile versus $197. So that's almost 3 or 4 times to keep these streets as chip seal versus converting them to asphalt. We know asphalt lasts longer. I'm actually doing a cost analysis to see what the benefit ratio is, but it's kind of doing more with less and making more people happy, because if I converted this street to asphalt, I wouldn't have money to do anything to these streets. So that's why we continue with chip seal, with the hopes of someday converting a lot of these roads to asphalt. These are just more chip seal streets. Again, the ones in green are add-ons. The yellows are removes And 5 of these add-ons were supposed to be microsurface, but were not good enough, so we're going to do chip seal. 8 of these roads were moved forward from outer years and not part of the 5-year program. So what you see here is the coverage map for what we plan on doing with our 2026 monies. The red ones are asphalt, the blue are micro, and the green are chip seal. Any questions so far? Moving on. So part of our money, we typically get $750. We got $750 last year. We get $785,000 this year for a box culvert replacement fund. What we're targeting on this are the narrow box culverts on our kind of our primary streets. I know this year, with this year's money, we were doing a culvert on Jesse James Farm Road, and then also north and eastern, just north of city limits. Both those projects are currently under design. We've got a contractor on board, and probably be constructed this summer during the break for school. This year, we're proposing the narrow road culverts on Burris Road, and which is just a 1/10 of a mile north of Northeast 190th Street, and then a culvert. There's a narrow culvert on Plattsburgh Road. I'm sure everyone's seen that one. That we're going to try to get it as well with this year's monies. We also get $100,000 in what's called culvert repair, and these funds are typically for purchase of new aluminized crossroad pipes. These pipes are used by in-house crews to replace old failed crossroad pipes on roads that are scheduled for asphalt overlay in 2026. We've already started that program now. We've got some road closures coming up where we're out there actively targeting the roads next year's asphalt and replacing the pipes. And you can see the photo on the right, that old rusted metal pipe. That pipe is probably, probably back in the 80s, and it was just, the bottom is torn out, and then on the right you see the new culvert going in. Pavement markings, we typically get money for pavement markings. This year we're getting $280,000, and what we typically do is any road that is has existing pavement markings that we're asphalting, the contractor do the asphalt or a micro, and then we come back and have the contractor paint stripes down. We didn't really have a program in the past where we went back to existing streets that needed striping, and you can see the one on the right is Nation Road, which that pavement is 14 years old. And actually, this is not bad on striping. You can actually see the stripes. There are some stripes that I've seen in the county that are 7 years old, and they're completely faded away. Typically, paint lasts 3 to 4 years, depending on the traffic. Most of our roads are low-volume roads, so we get a little longer life with our painting. But we need to step up the game and start doing some, spending that money and doing some additional existing roads. I mean, and for one thing, it doesn't make sense on that the Nation Road. I don't think we could justify spending money to stripe that if we're going to come back in the next year or two and mill and overlay. So we kind of target roads that have 4 or 5 years of existing life left to come back and paint over the existing ones. Now the fun one. So in the past, we've always rated our streets just visually. We go through, drive our streets, and we look for imperfections, and I can tell you, it gets kind of mind-numbing after you drive these streets and you look at them and you try to rate them. Right now, we rate them on a scale from 1 to 5, and it's kind of subjective, and like I say, it's not real accurate. So what we're proposing is to have a road scoring software and system in place. I've used that in the past in my different professions. A lot of people do this. It gives you real numbers. This is a vehicle here made by Stantec, which is one of the many vendors out there, but they have LiDAR and they have radar, and they drive every street. They don't drive every lane mile, but they drive down the center, and they pick up the imperfections, and they computerize and give it a score. And then we use that score to kind of program our streets. And there's also software associated with these programs where you can say, well, and the rating's from 1 to 100, and you can say, well, we want all of our streets to be at a 60. How much money do we need to spend to do this? So this software analysis will go through and figure all this out for you. The rate typically will be rate streets too every 3 years, so you kind of get these degradation curves. I know Terry probably showed you how pavement over time it degrades, and you can do some activities and bring them back up. So the more data points you get on these pavements, you can kind of predict what they're going to do in the future. So we're asking for that. If this is approved, then we'd go out for RFQ and see what's out there and what we can get the best bang for the buck on that. Curbing, this is another new item. So we're requesting $25,000 for unexpected curb repairs, which are maintained by the county. Now, most of our subdivisions that have curb has a provision in the homeowners agreement that the HOA maintains the curbs. We would only use this funding for county-maintained curbing, which may cause a drainage issue, not just for general cosmetic issues. The funding will also bring our ADA ramps up to standards whenever we go through and do a mill and overlay in these subdivisions. So right now I did a little inventory. I went out and drove every subdivision, and we have about 26.38 center-line miles of residential streets that have curbing on them, which equates to 278,573 linear feet of curbing. The current contract price for curbing is $60 per linear foot. So here's a shocker. To replace every bit of curb in the county that I just mentioned, the 26.38 miles, is $16,715,000. So, but again, like I said, not to shock you guys, but most of these subdivisions maintain their own curbs, so we don't have to come up with fit that bill for that. But we did have an instance this year where this one here in particular, where the curb had settled. We tried mud jacking, it worked for part of it, but we had to replace some of it. But that was at this particular subdivision. There was not an HOA provision for the HOAs to maintain the curb. Guardrail's another issue that we don't have. This is a new program we never have funding for. Right now, whenever there's, and we just kind of been reactive when a guardrail gets hit. We go out there and kind of fumble through what we have and try to replace with scraps that we have in hand. So what we're proposing is to actually maybe be proactive and get some guardrail where it needs to be installed, replace the existing. $25,000 is kind of a starter for us. I do know that guardrail contractors are hard to find. I know in the City of Independence, I checked on theirs, and they recently bid a project and had no contractors submitting for that, so they piggyback Lee Summit. So we intend on trying to maybe piggyback Lee Summit, and it's about $40 per linear foot is kind of a stab because it depends on how many rails you have. But like I said, we need to get kind of more proactive on our guardrails.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
These are obviously the old school kind of metal guardrails. Is there a cost advantage, and are there situations to where it would be even safer to use the kind of cable guardrails that you see that MoDOT uses? They started using those some years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if they would fit, certainly in what I'm looking at here right now, I don't think that they would be a good substitute, but I was wondering if that's something that we might consider doing throughout the county in those situations where it might be cost effective and even safer.
Well, the cables aren't really the cables are meant for crossovers on highways.
Right.
So they have breakaway posts, so they kind of, you hit them and it gives, so it doesn't really jar the driver, and it just kind of keeps them from going on to oncoming lanes. So the cable, like I say, is mainly for crossovers versus, trying it. So if that was a cable and someone hit that, there would be some additional movement and they might go in a ditch or something, so. But that is.
Yeah, and that's what I said was, certainly that would not be a good example of a good usage of that. I just wasn't sure if there were any instances where it really made any sense on county roads. So that, I think you answered the question, but thank you.
Yeah, and if you look, those the ones on the highway are kind of small. They're meant to break away, but the cable's meant to hold the vehicles, so.
Thank you.
So now to our bridge request. These 5 bridges shown on this page are part of the 2026 program. All but the $170,000 for Collins Road will be reimbursed by grants or utilize soft match credit with MoDOT, so they're a reimbursement process. The first one is the Stockdale Road Bridge over the railroad, Canadian Pacific Road. This is an existing single lane, 75-foot long bridge, single span stringer bridge. Weight limit is 11 tons. The bridge is built in 1930. The new bridge is under design right now. It's BRO funded. It's 91.7% funded by the state bridge replacement program, BRO, and 8.8% county soft match. So there's no cash that we have soft match credit built up, but like I say, we pay for it up front and get reimbursed. And we plan on bidding this project early spring of 2026 with construction also in 2026. I know this has been active for a couple of years. We've had some stalled negotiations with the Canadian Pacific Railroad, but those are now underway and we're in final design. Another bridge that got funded this year by the BRO project was the old 210 Highway Bridge over Rush Creek. This bridge is currently closed. The traffic is down by the Rush Creek. I think everyone's familiar with where this is at. The existing bridge is 131-foot long, 4-span steel stringer. Bridge was built in 1946. The new bridge is 92.6% funded by State Bridge Replacement Off System. And again, we have final plans. I've approved final plans. We're still waiting on MoDOT to bless those plans. Once they're done, we'll probably bid this thing first January, February this year and build it next summer. The next one is 164th Street Bridge, which is located just east of Inslee Road and near over a branch of Willow Creek. The bridge is currently closed to traffic. The existing bridge is 29 foot long. And first of all, to be classified as a bridge, it has to be 20 foot, either total openings or, so there's some smaller bridges that are less than 20 that aren't actually bridges. So I just thought I'd throw those out because those aren't eligible for BRO. So this is 29 foot long, barely makes the qualification for bridge. It's a single span stringer bridge built in 1945. We applied for BRO funding in 2025, but were not successful. We'll apply again for design and construction for this year's 2026 program, which applications will probably due in January. If it's successful, we would receive funding in October 2026 with design to proceed in 2026 through 2027 and then construction 2027. If we're not successful getting BRO funding, we might have a conversation about using county funds to actually fund a design, and that way we would probably score better in the BRO process and maybe get it eventually funded. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed this one to get funded this year, but hopefully it'll get funded this coming year. And then another bridge is the 178th Street Bridge over New Hope Creek. It's located just east of Scott Road over New Hope Creek. The bridge was closed to traffic August 29th of this year. The existing bridge is a 75-foot long, 2-span steel stringer bridge. The bridge was built in 1955. We will apply, so we haven't applied yet, but we will apply for this bridge in additional 164th Street for BRO. So hopefully both of them will get funded, hopefully at least one or both. And again, if we're not successful, we might have a conversation about funding the design and getting scored a little better for the next round. And then this is Collins Road Bridge over Camp Creek. This is the longest bridge we have. This bridge is 424 feet long, 3-span plate girder, built in 1979. It goes over Smithville Lake. I don't know if you can see it in the photo, but where the pavement ends and the bridge begins, there's expansion joints, and they're about this wide, and literally there's areas on both ends where there's nothing in there. They're just completely corroded away. So something needs to be done. Fortunately, this would not require a design project. It's kind of more of a maintenance where we would just kind of do a design build and get them to replace this. And the cost for that is $170,000, and it's part of the county funding for this year's budget cycle. And then lastly, we have an equipment request for, and this picture here is what the reclaimer that I talked about earlier. Whenever we do a chip seal road. So our existing reclaimer is 26 years old, is constant need of repairs. Some parts are obsolete, hard to find due to the age of the reclaimer. A new modern reclaimer has the ability to inject material. So whenever you pick up this material and you mix it around internally, you can inject fly ash or other hardening agents, even water, that'll help lay it down and compact it into place. And with a more durable base, we have our chip seal streets would last longer. So that's our only equipment request for this year. So with that, that's the end of what I had. Any questions for me?
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you, and Tom, thanks for the presentation.
Sure.
I got two questions. One is on this one. So I'm going to assume that our hope is the life of this piece of equipment will not be 20 years. because the last one went 20 years and they don't make any of the parts anymore.
Right.
So what do we expect is really the useful life on this piece of equipment?
That's a good question. You know, you could probably certainly, you know, first of all, this is a purchase and lease, so we would purchase this thing. You know, we don't use it as hard as some other counties or governments might use it, MoDOT or other things. And, you know, as long as parts are available, we might be able to get 26 years out of it, but the thing is, you know, technology is getting better, and it just depends. But, I mean, we would probably anticipate at least 20 years out of this thing.
Okay, that's fine. Then the other question actually goes back quite a bit, and I'm sorry for not stopping you earlier, but you were on a roll, and I didn't want to stop you.
I wasn't looking up. What was it on? I can go back to that slide.
This goes back to the scoring software.
Uh-huh.
And just so I understand, but basically, the 70,000 that you're asking for, which granted, I think you'll get more information out of this than just eyeballing it, so I'm fine with that. But the idea would be, this would essentially be a one-year deal.
Right.
The life of it, the life of the information, we expect to go for about 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
And then 3 years from now, you're coming back asking for
Right.
70, or whatever it is by that time.
The only problem I see with the county is, you know, I've worked in municipalities and I've always had asphalt roads. So,
Yeah.
you know, you do this every 3 years, you rate it, and you kind of get these degradation curves. It's kind of hard to predict whether, you know, the next cycle, what's going to happen with the chip seal street. I mean, you rated this year and 3 years later, it may need to be replaced. And then also keep in mind, we have a 5-year published program. So, you know, we're going to rate these streets now and get a rating, but I've got, you know, 4 more years of what's already existing out there with a little bit of leverage. But,
Right.
but yeah, that was the plan, is to come back every 3 years and get, you know, degradation curves for these roads, get ratings, get some idea how they perform in different areas of the city, or the
Right.
county, excuse me.
Well, and kind of using that logic, you could have a 5-year plan of what you're going to do on various streets, but 3 years from now, you may need to change it based on what this
Right.
tells you.
Right.
Right, okay.
And this thing, like I said, will also, you know, they have the built-in software where, you know, it assigns a PCI to every segment of road. So a segment is usually, it used to be intersection to intersection, but sometimes out here we just say a segment.
Right.
So it rates the whole segment. It prorates it where you got a mile segment at 50 and 2-mile segment at 75. So, you know, it kind of gets an average. So it gives you an overall score. And then we say, well, visually, we think the road should look like this, which is a score of 60.
Yeah.
So right now, we're sitting at a 45. To bring everything up to a 60, what does that involve? And it could throw out budget numbers. Well, you need to be spending this dollar amount on asphalt, this dollar amount on crack sealing, this dollar amount on microsurfacing to achieve that. So it's a good funding tool, a 5-year,
Yeah.
you know, a budgetary tool.
Helps you with prioritization and all
Right.
that good stuff. And then your final comment actually made me want to make sure. So as it goes through, you are looking at where, well, your threshold rating is 60 then at that point.
Well,
right?
I just threw that number out there.
Yeah. So, but I think it's helpful to know as it drives around and it tells you various things. And I understand the various ratings that each road, you know, a road will get. But the goal is to identify those roads, or maybe the better way of saying it is, at what point does it alert you that, hey, maybe I've got a problem here and I need to look at it a little bit more? What's that rating that you expect to see that says this may be a problem?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm thinking about the Blue Springs,
Yeah.
where we use the software, where anything less than a 10 was poor. I mean, it was done.
Yeah.
And then there was a 10 to 20, which was like fair. The thing is, you know, it gives you all these segments throughout the city or county, and, you know, there may be a bad segment over here isolated by itself, but you don't just automatically program that to be done.
Right.
Because you kind of, the scale of economy, you want to reduce mobilization costs. So
Yes.
you use it as a tool, it's not an absolute for programming streets.
Yeah.
It identifies whether the road, you know, there's a lot of distresses, there's rutting, shoving, paving, you know, all these different distresses. This thing will tell you whether you got ruts, which could indicate
Wow.
bad, sub-base, you know, different kinds of things. So this is kind of a tool to help you identify problems.
Perfect. All right. Thank you
Did
very
that answer
much.
your question?
Yeah. Nope, you got me. Thank you.
I give it back to you.
Commissioner
I was gonna say,
Lawson? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And to add to that too, it also helps us with our capital planning. I mean, part of it is that, going back to what Tom was just mentioning, you're doing it every 3 years, but for us, it's also trying to go with the same company so you can keep your idea of where you're trending and also show yourself getting better. because it's going to go over the ones that you provided a treatment to. I also tell you where they are currently at that one too as well. So,
And it's the consistency of that, 'cause
Yeah.
you're using the
Yes.
same company, same software.
yeah. So,
And I've used similar software, like I say, in 3 different life, and it was typically 3 years was the cycle on that. Like I say, you can build these little degradation curves to kind of predict what's going to happen, so.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yeah, on this same item, there were a couple of remarks, I couldn't hear what you said. So if I'm asking something he already asked, just let me
That's
know. But when you go out with this device, like you were saying, we can see ruts, we can see cracks,
Right.
all that kind of thing. This goes further. So you have a road you think looks good,
Yeah,
and you're driving along and it starts making you aware something subsurface is occurring, right?
right.
Okay, and you'll be doing this on every road that isn't having something done to it, right?
We won't do it on gravel.
Pardon?
We won't do it on we'll not do it on gravel roads.
No, I know you
Yeah.
wouldn't on gravel,
But,
yeah.
and it wouldn't be us, it'd be a contractor doing it, but yeah, they wouldn't drive each lane, they'd drive down like the center line, which kind of gives a representation of the whole roadway.
Yeah.
But I mean, it physically will count and measure cracks and potholes and ruts and shoving, and then put in this matrix and spit out a pavement condition index. There's also like a roadway index, which is kind of the smoothness of the road. So there's a couple of indexes that this thing will calculate with the LiDAR and the radars.
Okay, and so are you doing this on roads you've scheduled or just on the roads
We would do it on every road.
You'll do every road?
Except for gravel, we do it on
Okay.
every road in a 3-year cycle. A lot of the bigger cities like Kansas City would do a third every year, so they'd have a contract every year and do a third. But I think the size of our community, we could probably just do every 3 years.
Yeah. Okay, and then you'll have that data to work off of this year, next year, and then.
Right.
And then eventually you'll have this come back. Will it be another 70,000 the next time?
Probably in 3 years, yeah. In the 5-year plan, we put another 70,000 in there for,
Pardon?
in the 5-year plan that Damon.
5, okay.
The 5-year plan, it's 3 years out. I think it's 2029 maybe. We added another $70,000.
Okay. And then I had a question about staff.
Okay?
So I know when we were long ago having meetings before you came on board, the crisis was that we really were low-staffed.
Right.
So now you made the comment that you hired a number of new staff.
Right.
How many people are you short right now?
5.
5 people?
So,
Okay.
yeah, when I came on board, we have 18 operators, right? And then we got management staff and supervisors and mechanics where we had 9 out of 18 operators. Right now, we're down 4.
Oh,
And we would have been a little closer, but some of those operators, I promoted 1 or 2 of them. So we've hired quite a few and then we'll be promoted within. One of the operators went to be a mechanic and 1 went to be a supervisor. So right now I'm short 4 operators and I'm short 1 machinist in the shop. And I'm kind of debating on that one right now because, a lot of our equipment is leased and so we have
Oh.
maintenance agreements. So right now I don't need that machinist, but I'd want to leave it just in case I want to evaluate it before I completely get rid of it, but
Okay.
4 operators right now. And we actually have an interview on Monday. We got an interview Monday, and it's a pretty promising candidate, so maybe we'll be down 3.
yeah. When those new people come in, are you trying to hire some that already have their commercial license?
Yes.
If you don't, and then we train them?
We've got, that's part of this year's budget too. Right now, I only have 1 employee that does not have a CDL, but we try to, if you look on our job posting, it says CDL A is required
Yeah.
within 6 months. So we try to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we try to get but we won't reject in the old days, they would reject a candidate, but we would look at them and, if they've got 10 years or 20 years experience somewhere else in a municipality, another county, we might consider them. And then if they're a good employee, then we would allow them the opportunity for us to pay for CDL
Okay.
training. But yeah, we require, we like them to have CDL A with hazmat and tanker. We'll take a B because the difference is an A you can trailer. So whenever we take heavy equipment to the field, as long as we have enough A's to move equipment, that's okay. A B can drive a plow truck, but we prefer A. But
Okay.
I think all
And
but one of our employees right now have a CDL.
If they come to you without a CDL, and you train them, and let them get their CDL, or their license, whatever you call it. Anyway, when they get that, do you make them agree that they have to stay for X number of years to make up for what you paid for?
That's a good question. We had that same debate in Blue Springs. First of all, if we hired what we thought was a good employee that didn't have a CDL, we'd bring them on board. We would not allow any kind of training until they became a regular
Yeah.
employee, 6 months. I don't think that, it's kind of like tuition reimbursement. You probably sign a little waiver that says, I'll stay 2 years after the class is done, or I got to pay it back. I don't know, Kim's not here, but I don't know if there's a mechanism. We always struggle with that in other communities where we're not sure there's a mechanism to do that. I know that maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you can, there are mechanisms, but typically the cost is prohibitive. But our desire is that we make you a long-term employee. So if we give you the opportunity to get the training, our hope is that you continue to stay with us as long as
Yeah,
possible.
good.
We would make sure it's a viable, good employee before we would
Great.
do that.
And I would say too that part of a couple years ago, state changed how CDL is not only trained but mandated. And so our staff here has done a good job of that. Assuming you guys have also one person that helps with the training, but having so many on staff with that training helps a lot too, because not only after you get the training to get the operation, you also have to get so many hours in where you are showing your operation and track that as well. So,
Okay. All right, thank you. And thanks for your presentation.
Sure, absolutely.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'm sorry. That software that you just had on the screen, $70,000,
Yes, sir.
forgive me if you already said that, is that for purchase or is that for renting?
It'd be like an RFQ, like a consultant. So we would put an RFQ, and then like Stantec, who's I've used in the past, they would submit a proposal. We'd get other proposals. We'd hire somebody, and they would drive the streets and then give us the data and the software.
Okay, so we're not buying.
We're not buying the equipment,
the
no.
program or the vehicle or anything.
Yeah, I know I checked into that back, 10 years ago, those things were $500,000. I can only imagine what they are now.
Yeah, okay.
Now, we have been approached by other vendors that have these, where you can take like a smartphone and stick it in the dash, kind of like a dash cam, and it drives the streets, and it'll pick up all these imperfections AI, but nothing beats LiDAR and radar and to be able to, But like I say, if this is approved, we would probably put out a request for proposal and then see what's out there and then have all these people come and give us the dog and pony show. And, maybe someone can convince us that this AI thing is doable. But, yeah, we would not be buying the equipment to answer your question.
Okay. Thank you. I do like the idea. It takes some of the subjectivity out of it.
Yeah. As someone who's driven streets, I mean, in Oak Grove, I had like 45 miles of streets. And after about mile 5, you're like cross-eyed trying to,
Yeah.
trying to be subjective and not, it's very difficult to just drive a street and try to rate it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
it actually probably remind you ever seen the Google car go around? It's literally a person in the back of a van sitting in there and equipment all around them. They go through and the LiDAR looks at the different variations of your surface. So back in the day, we used to do it by chain, and you would stretch it out, see the variation. That was way back in the day. But that took a lot of time and effort. Now, a lot more, done a lot quicker. 70,000 is pretty good in comparison for us. I can remember the last municipality I worked at, it was about the same and not as many roadways. But it does help you. And that's where I also learned about trying to use the same software as we go along, because then it becomes a difference of the computations. So yeah, it's when Tom brought that to me, it was a great opportunity for us to get a big measurement, a base of what we have as streets, and look at the degradation over time, so you can actually plan to how to address those in the long term.
I had a question also, and it's not necessarily has a cut and dry answer, I suppose, but it's about the road districts. I think you indicated that there was $940,000 that the county put in to supplement money that came in from the road districts. Am I right on that, or did I hear that incorrectly?
You guys got that? Okay, they'll do that.
Is that number pretty much right?
So the 940,000, what that means is the agreement calls for the county annually to put in $1 million of sales tax. And so that number is $1 million less the TIF withholding that we currently have is 6%, so it's 60,000. So it's, it doesn't represent the shortfall of the, county revenues and the expenditures. It's just the, according to the agreement, that we have to pay out $1 million of sales tax. Yeah, because I think
Yeah, I said shortfall, but it's a requirement.
Could you talk just a little bit louder, please? I'm sorry.
yeah. So the $1 million is just a part of the settlement agreement, that we have to pay $1 million in sales tax.
I think my concern was, obviously that's a lot of money, but I realize it's something that is going to be accelerating, and it is something that we need to at some point try to do something about. It may well require something from Jefferson City for us to actually resolve that. But what is the acceleration that you would see in that going forward in the years as we go on? And obviously, I think every municipality, with the exception, I think Smithville has a road district. So, if Smithville were to get a road district, that would obviously also add some dollar amount to that.
I think it is starting to take off a little faster, and I would say the reason for that, in fact, if I could, I'm going to try and pull up the slide here.
Well, that's a forecast portion.
Just because you can see there, kind of that delta is starting to grow, kind of on the graph as well as in the numbers. You can see, for example, really in 2022, we kind of started to go the other way, right? And I think it's a convoluted formula, but essentially we have to pay at 14 cents property tax levy to the road districts. And our current levy is below 7 cents, so less than half. And so because we have to take a Hancock Amendment rollback every year and still pay at 14 cents, the delta is only just gonna increase from here on out.
And that, like I say, there's nothing, it's not something that we can do something about today necessarily, but it's something that, we should probably be looking at and trying to see if we can come up with some kind of resolution, because it's not, what this looks like is it's not getting any better. And it will likely get worse, and at some point, it could impinge even more greatly onto our, onto what we have to spend on roads. And so that was just something I wanted to kind of get on the radar a little bit, like I say.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken too, the settlement agreement does talk about, I want to say in 2027 and beyond, so not this upcoming budget year, but the year after that, the sales tax obligation goes from 1 million to 1.5 million. So yeah, in addition to the property tax differential, the sales tax obligation increases as well, so yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
Wow. I'm shocked that you're not screaming about that.
Oh, I've done it enough times. Why do I need to do it again? This is what I've been talking about for 3 years.
I know.
But I appreciate you saying that.
Now we're looking at the 1 year, the first year, the 5-year capital improvement plan. Going back to the funding sources, you're at Capitol Road and Bridge, Capitol and Park, Capitol from your general alone with the outside funding, which includes your grants and other items. Expenditure-wise, of course, Road and Bridge will take up quite a bit of your portion, almost 50% of it. And then your next one is facility projects, and then your other ones are your debt payments. And this one here lines out your 5-year CIP program. Project listing wise, your debt service with your general highway and parks, about $2.4 million in your debt payments. The other one is your leases, which are obligations you have. You have a lease, which your major one is your parks department with $313,000. Your next one is your 2 steel wheel rollers. These are all items that we currently have down to your reclaimer that you're looking at. So, but these you want to take account of as you go through your year. Now this is equipment that we're looking at purchasing this upcoming year. Some of these items we've already been over, between IT and JIS, that was in our initial presentation that we had. Your camera system upgrade, your fiber for your road and bridge. The other ones are kind of smaller ones, like install a lobby monitor, girls group home hardware readers. Those are all through your JIS department. Your major one there with the IT department is your for your parks headquarters, towers, or either radio towers that they're installing. The last one is access points, and as you go further down, items that was spoken of when we did the parks presentation, including a pontoon boat and a pickup truck. The other one is at the very end is a vehicle replacement that was spoken of while I planning the zoning presentation. Some of these would be repetitive, just giving you, putting it all within one program. So as we track it throughout the years, we know that we're spending it going forward. But this is the year one of that one. Your next portion is regarding your, from the sheriff department, your annual police vehicle replacement. The other one is upgrades or replacement items within your detention facility. The largest one is the washer and dryer replacement. The other one, the largest one, is out of your 911 fund, is for body worn and in-camera hardware and software and storage, totaling $1.8 million for total equipment. Projects, again, these are ones that we've spoken of before, but a couple of them are for golf. The other ones are for parks itself, ADA projects, dock pavers, and the last one is Little Platte Playground project. Next one is facilities. As you can see, that list is pretty long, but it's also, department covers a lot. Donna and her staff do quite a bit there. Just want to point out roof replacement. You got that in 3 different areas. One is for your hangar at the airport, it's about $225,000. And the other one is the Rooney Justice Center and your detention roof. It says roof repairs, but also that's replacement as well. I will also point out the leverage of our ARPA funds. You know, as you guys are familiar, ARPA is something that we need to spend by the end of 2026. And so that we already have projects allocated with that one, but also due to the decisions you made earlier, you have some ARPA funds that allowed us to be able to use that for your replacement. And so we leverage those funds to help with replacement. So that $600,000 is a combination of both, along with $800,000, but total project is probably about $2.1 million. So you have the ARPA funds that will help offset the remaining costs of that. Your next larger project, your annual building and maintenance program, that is a lump sum amount that we utilize for different projects within the facility department that come up, everything from maintenance to upkeep to whatever it may be in order to keep the facilities going. keeps them opportunity to move forward with projects that, if they're over a certain amount, come back to you, but we allocated those funds to allow them to be able to do that work. The next one is actually items you just went over. The road maintenance projects, from everything from curbing to seal coat preservation. And the next one is your bridges that Tom just mentioned in his previous presentation. Along with other items here, these are back to road and bridge for your stormwater, your culvert replacements that were just talked about. And then your last one is personnel with the capital for parks. Actually, I'm gonna go back to that one. I wanted to point out that your grand total for capital improvement plan was $21,883,847. Show that utilizing that spread throughout your facilities, which helps support all the different departments, along with parks and roadway and bridge. So in your 5-year plan, if money was no object and you had it all sitting there, you're looking about $106 million with pretty much the same type of distribution of the capital, road and bridge, about 33%. And your next one, you just capital for your general. And capital for parks would be the third highest as far as revenue sources. But allocation goes back to what we had before. Road and bridge projects and road maintenance takes up close to between 40 and 50% of your funds. This one lines out the 5-year plan. And as we mentioned before, some projects are 1-year items. Others go beyond that, but leases are typically a continuation. So you want to look at you provide funding that can help pay for those throughout or until they'll no longer need it. But one of them is the lease to the Corps of Engineers. That one you're very familiar with, but that's a continuation through 2030. So as we got to that list we just went over, along with the 5-year plan, one of the things we did with our initial meetings with the different departments was look at, I just pretty much asked them to bring all the projects they could think of that they have on their list. And by the way, Donna gets the one for the most items on her list. But for the most part, we knew we couldn't do all of them. But the objective was to try to start a basis of creating our 5-year plan, which you already have in place, but it was just a continuation of that one. And it also gave me exposure for items that I'm not familiar with, so I can look at going forward. And so we took some away, of course, and then try to allocate some funds to get them further out. And then we looked at prioritization of those projects and what that may mean at this time and the need we have. So I can say that staff did a good job of working with us on the budget team to try to figure those out and at least give us an idea what it might come in the future. Something they are familiar with and I have done before, but just giving me opportunity to get exposure to that as we go forward. As you can see, we have some projects that's been on there for a while regarding our Parks Department, and we have spoken of before, but some of those we're able to do this year, and then as we allocate throughout, at least put a placeholder for those amounts as we go forward. A continuation of that. So your funding source, you're looking at about $5.3 million through the projects that we have shown. Your next one was equipment. And this one here goes for all the departments from IT to facilities and airport. So you have quite a few here. Some of them we were able to do this year and some we were not, so we moved them to the next year to try to get prioritization as well regarding which projects we can do at the time. I could call out a couple of them And one of them, like next year, airport fuel truck to rebuild. Those are items that are needed. The one is more our FBO that we work with. It's in providing that equipment as part of our agreement with them. Those type of items regarding that. Network switches, you can see that one is 2028 through 2030. Those are the type of items that are needed. We have IT department, not an inexpensive item, but a need. But you try to put them out in different years so everything won't hit at one time. Your next items here are pretty much your JIS. Some of those are one-time needs, but I would say that list will fill up as time goes on because projects will come up here and there. The other one is like replacement programs at the bottom there with the Parks Department. And I think the largest one is software upgrade and data center. You're at 1.3 million, that's in 2030. So not only are we looking at what we can do as far as annually with that, but how do we save funds or work towards that direction when we know we have a major items in the near future. The last one is your road and bridge. Pretty much has an item each year that we're trying to do some type of equipment replacement just to keep on top of the equipment that's needed in order to provide the operations that we need within road and bridge. And many of those help out even with the work we've done that we might have to contract out, like the paint striper and things of that sort that we want to try to do in-house and ensure we have the equipment to be able to do that. And your last one is your sheriff and your detention. The replacement program is probably the largest one because of the amount of vehicles that you replace, depending on the year. The tower is one that you're seeing. That's a 911 fund. $5 million is in 2020, 2029, 2030 timeframe. Something we'll have to work towards as that goes off. But we want to have that in our radar as potential items. So that total equipment is about 18.9 million, just under 19 million throughout these next 5 years for all departments. And your last one here is projects. As we start to look at different projects, your first lines will be your airport projects. Range from the hangar roof replacement is probably your major one for the next 2 years. Then as you go further down, it's dependent on the year. I'm sure that those lists will fill up as well. And your other one is juvenile, providing the facilities that is needed to provide a safe place, not only for the people that we house, but also for our employees. The transition home, I like the fact that we'll be opening that end of this year, early next year, but having a plan of providing maintenance and upkeep helps so that long-term you won't have to look at a larger amount. So if you do things like plan ahead, putting funding there so that you can do paint and refresh, as we all plan on doing, even of our own homes, we want to make sure we put that in our funding as we go forward. And the other two are detention and court. So one of the major ones is a roof repair, which is a long-term replacement, it should be, not repair. And the other items are your water heaters and your standard items that you may need to be replacement of. And your last portion is your annual building maintenance program. Is something we do annually regarding facilities, but other projects from everything from Schrader to your quick building facility upgrades to this next list would also include a few items. Parking at the annex, quick building items. So this is a fluid list. I mean, it will change as it goes, but at least you got a good idea of where you know you have placeholders in case of funding is needed at that time. And your last two are your for your road and bridge, totaling about 10 million. in your maintenance projects, road maintenance, as you can see, that's probably the largest number there of that 28 million. When you total projects you do annually towards those for road and bridge, everything from your road maintenance projects mainly. This one here is your 5-year CIP for your bridges. These are both funding sources of both road and bridge, which are ours, and also BRO, which is a state-funded program that we participate in. That number would be quite a bit more if that was not the case. But it helps with reimbursement and other offsetting costs. But as you can see, these are projects that we're looking at not only this year, but you have to fund them multiple years in order to get prepared for it and then submit it. For one, you have to do the engineering in order to prepare it, in order to submit for the BRO program. The next two are stormwater and the payments, and the last one is personnel. So those just reiterating what was there before, but looks at how it looks at over time with a total of about 106 million that we mentioned earlier for the overall capital improvement plan. So how do you fund that? So for revenue-wise, start with our fund balance, and we utilize our use tax and then other funding. So the other one is regarding this one, the use tax. We have about 9 million. That's what we're looking at eventually when you get towards 2030. So that's taking into consideration inflation and other items, and then creating the fund balance as it continues to grow for our long-term needs. Last one is the expenditures, but also estimating fund balance about 4 million with this, which is a healthy fund balance. Net annual fund impact of about $1 million.
I got a question. Go back a couple slides. Please. Go one more. Hold on, okay. Salem Road, bike lane and stabilization, $2,700,000. That, why are we doing that?
That's one of the projects I have to.
Because I live on Salem Road, and, you know, now, I think about all the trails. I'm sick of hearing about all the wonderful trails we have all over the place. The guys, instead of going on those wonderful trails, they ride up Salem Road, which is probably one of the busiest roads, especially at 5 in the morning and 5 at night. It's probably one of the busiest roads in the county. And they come up that road, you know, probably 8 or 10 of them at a time. And then you know, you're fearful for their lives, plus the fact that, you know, it's just scary. I don't understand why we would spend that 2.7 million unless we've got funding that's going to do it, you know, and take care of it all for us. Because I would definitely be against doing that. They can go on the roads, the bike trails that they've already got versus us having to do that.
Sure.
I can pitch in a little bit as well as the director. I'm kind of echoing here, but if we do go to the forward slide on 72, well,
Go back one.
I'll call it
Slide 72.
I'll call it 74. I'm sorry, not 72. Sorry about
Go
that.
forward or backwards.
Forwards.
Somebody get off that. Another?
Keep going. 74,
Oops,
please.
sorry.
So I will say this was a earlier contemplated project. I'm not sure, you know, director can speak to future plans as to if we're something we're still looking at in 27. But this was something that we had identified as potential funding from an STBG.
I can hear that, what?
Yeah, I'm like,
ringing.
I guess in summary, it was, I think it started out as a and this was before I got here. I know they applied for
Yeah.
STBG funds. Excuse me. I think it was the 2 point, whatever the $1 million was not county funding. It would have been an 80-20. So they had applied for STG block grant funds through MARC and didn't receive them. So the next round of call for projects is 2027. I think it's mainly there's a problem with the roadway, a stabilization problem on the embankment. And so part of the project would stabilize that bank and then add the bike lane. But it would not be 100% county funded, it would be partially county funded. And it would fix the problem with our roadway, and it would also add the bike lane, is my understanding.
Yeah, and give you more on that one, Commissioner Lawson. We'll check more into it, but typically what they do with those applications, they ask for you have multifacets of transportation, and they score better. So if you have STP funding through MARC, you score better if you have multifacets of transportation. So if you have bike lane, pedestrian, and roadway, you'll score higher on it. So if they were looking at trying to utilize those funds, meaning offset our funds with grant funds, more than likely they were trying to add the bike lanes to make it a better scoring project.
Well, and that makes sense, except you guys ought to drive up Salem Road and see near the church especially, that's just dangerous as hell. It really is. And when those guys come up the road, you can hear brakes squealing and everything else. So I just, if there were a way that you could do it on 69 Highway or someplace else, that is not a road. We have wrecks on that road not me personally,
Yeah.
People have wrecks on that road all the time. Plus, there's a big sign there because deer cross there as well. People are hitting deer and, it's just an extremely dangerous road. I'd hate to see us encourage the bike traffic only to have somebody get hurt or worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and they're changing that as they go, because this is also goes back to MARC is changing their committee makeup, but also looking at what they can regarding the application. So like next year, they'll start looking at which projects. You got to be on a certain network, or you got to be on the 2060 plan. You got to have certain things in order for you to score well enough in order to be considered a project. So, and pedestrian improvements or even safety improvements will be part of that scoring criteria. So, and it could have been one of those things. I'm not as familiar with them, but now that we have it on our radar, we'll look at it closer.
okay.
Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. Just a couple things. I did note on that Fund 300, although I guess a deficit in 2027 of $1 million is no big deal, I'll still point out it says there's a deficit of $1 million. So, but now, then on to other things. The facilities report, particular on the aviation projects. I was just curious on the jet fuel tank, because it's set out to 2030. And so my question is it a matter of we expect it to be at the end of its useful life by that time, and therefore that's on the list for that time, or is there anything, or is there a problem we have identified with it, but we believe we can defer it for that amount of time? It was just interesting to me to see it that far out in advance.
Hi, Commissioners. Donna Kuntz, Director of Facilities. So to answer your question is, that is a request from our FBO operator.
Okay.
Our tanks, this past 24 and extending in here to 25, we have done paintings, valve replacements. We have been investing quite a bit in those fuel tanks currently.
Yeah.
The request is pushed out because of the expense of replacing the tanks, and this is a bigger tank. He would prefer we have larger tanks, because when he calls for a fuel order, the volume that the truck carries is more than we can accommodate into those tanks.
Got it.
And he would like to be able to fill the tank fully from a tanker then decide what he would like to offload into one of the portable trucks that he can then move around and pull up to. So this is, it could be moved, but it is such an expensive item, and it's really because of the size of the tank, not because the tank is not
Gotcha.
operating at this time.
Gotcha. So appreciate that answer, but I also noticed, I think it was in 28, that we have about $300,000 down for taxi lanes, and so the comment of we can kind of, we have to wait because of some other things was I guess why I was then wondering, well, and maybe the request for taxi lanes is coming from the FBO operator too, but I'm just wondering for us, what would be the greater priority? Or if we even could say which of the two is the greater priority?
Well, I'd have to wear the county hat at this point.
Of course you would. Well, that's why I'm asking you, yes.
So I would have to say the taxi lanes, because our taxi lanes, you should be able to pull out of your hangar and you should have to taxi, and you should have to make a, whichever way, a left or a right-hand turn and go up and then make another turn to get onto the runway. Our taxi lanes, you pull out of your hangar, you can shoot straight across down our current taxi lane and you're on the runway. There's no turning, pending, which means if someone is not paying attention, somebody could be landing or taking off
So
and
we would
you're
like to
pulling
avoid
on.
accidents.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I would have to say taxi lanes.
Then that's good enough for me. Appreciate that. That's all I've got for you, Don.
Thank you.
But I'm not done with these guys yet. Thank you. One last question, probably for you, Administrator. It was a comment you made kind of as you started about how you add things, but you also remove things. And I'm not, because my memory fails me to know what was on the list last year, and so I'm not sure what we removed. And not that I need to know what all those things are. I'm mainly asking because if there's a phone call that comes from somebody that says, hey, this was on your past plan, but now it's gone, and I'm mad, and blah, blah, blah. Because I know if that happens, Commissioner Lawson will just go through the roof.
Well, just to explain more on that one, I was saying as far as
Right.
items that we might do, as far as a list of items I received thus far, we didn't remove them, we just maybe moved them towards another phase
So
of
just
the
push
capital
out,
plan.
just kind of
Yeah,
push them out?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But-
as
but-
far as items that removed, maybe, when I was talking about add and remove for this year only, that we
I
could not
see.
pay for them this year.
But, so the takeaway is those items really haven't changed, it's just a matter of when they appear on the 5-year plan.
That's correct.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
Anything else before we continue? All right, looks like we've got the questions answered for the moment. Please proceed.
Cinnamon.
One more chance for anyone who has anything. Commissioner Johnson, I thought you were going to your button. There you are. Please proceed.
This is our last time to talk about budget stuff. And you probably don't have this off the top of your head, but I'm curious to know the numbers of what it would cost to get all of our employees, I'm talking about our salary survey, to get all of our employees up to the 50th percentile and also up to the 60th percentile.
I do not know that off my head,
Yeah,
but I would
expect you
definitely, 50 and 60%.
50 and 60, yeah, please.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else care to comment or question? All right.
And I will say that, thinking from those same lines, that's kind of going back to that road and bridge, the LiDAR, that's what you'll see too, once you get that report, is what does it take you to get to a certain percentage? Because if you want all your roads to be, at the 50th percentile, you'll see something like that as well. So both having those reports give us opportunity in your upcoming next year, what that looks like. Not only the personnel side would be still ongoing, the other one would be operational when it comes to capital improvements. So your two largest marks on what you have, you'll be able to make those informed decisions.
Okay, if there's nothing further, nothing else to add to for the good of the order, we are adjourned. Thank you.